that hire would have been fine. It would not have violated any NFL rules had it happened. Was that accurate, Chris? Was he going to join as a high-level executive, and would he have been involved in personnel decisions?
Appreciate the question, Barry. I'm just going to talk about the draft and 2020 here, our preparation and getting ready for our excitement right now, mini camp and stuff. So, but appreciate the question. First, I'd say congrats to the Heat, a great start. Those guys have been very good to us and spent some time with those guys. So very excited to see them. I'm off to a great start, and then looking forward to the Panthers with their run here coming. They spent some time here this summer as well, and it's great to see those guys, the work they've put in, and obviously my brother's with the Rangers, so I'll root for them except for against the Rangers. But I wish them a lot of luck too as well. And the Marlins are off to a great start, good young team. I've watched them a couple times here, so good time for South Florida sports, and good luck to Inter Miami. And I think they're like third round versus like the B team or whatever in North American soccer. So it's a good time to be a South Florida sports fan.
So good luck to the Rangers as well. Rangers and Panthers.
Yes.
And the Mets. So Tyreek.
No, Red Sox. Come on. No.
So Tyreek Hill is sort of your first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you psychologically think of it that way, and how do you think his skill set compares to, for example, some of the first round receivers of this year and recent years?
Yeah, no, like we were trying to figure out what we were going to do on draft day, and one of the guys said, he goes, well, just watch Tyreek highlights, in the draft room and make us feel good. But it's unfair to compare any of those kids to Tyreek's skill set, coming out. He's such a unique talent, and even yesterday on the field, he made a play and went down, and then he popped up, like no hands, like flipped up right off the ground, and we're just like, look at this guy. He's just so explosive and springy, and just the way he works out in practice, his work ethic's unbelievable. So again, it's a talented class of receivers, but obviously you can't compare them to Tyreek at all, and for what he does and what we feel he does in this offense, and what a great fit he is.
Chris, for this specific kind of draft cycle, obviously a couple weeks ago you shipped off a lot of your picks. Since then, have you found yourself kind of changing the process at all in terms of maybe how many guys are sending out to pro days and whatnot? And big picture, there's been a lot of talk about the Rams kind of changing their scouting process and the information that they're relying on. How have you seen your scouting department's kind of overall process kind of change over the years?
Yeah, we haven't changed our process, because I think you end up shortchanging, the organization if you do that. Because at the end of the day, you never know when opportunities arise, to do something, whether, make a move or not, or if a player falls, you think there's a chance to go get them. So you have to work through your process and be ready to answer all questions. And at the end of the day, you never know. This could be a trade a year or two on a player, and if you haven't done your work, and you've just because you don't pick till 102, it can end up hurting you when you don't have all the information if those opportunities arise. So for us, we had guys were out all pro days. Coaches are out. Coaches are doing private workouts. They still have some private workouts going on here over the next week or so. So for us, it's been full steam ahead. The personnel staff has done a tremendous job, and the coaching staff, Mike and the coaching staff, these guys enjoy getting out, getting to meet players, bringing them in. So the private workout stuff, it's been exciting, and I think the coaches really enjoy getting to know these players too as well.
If no center is drafted in the third or fourth round, someone that you feel can legitimately compete with Michael, would you at that point sign a veteran center? Not to get into any names, but if you could shed some light on the thinking with that, do you want to go through the draft before deciding whether to sign a veteran center as competition or depth?
Yeah, I think, like we've always shown, we'll always keep looking at players, Barry. We'll keep digging and going through once the draft's over, but I think we also have an opportunity post-draft to add a lot of players through the undrafted free agency. College free agency too. So there'll be some players that always fall through the cracks that don't get drafted, and we've spent a lot of time. The coaching staff and the scouts have been a tremendous amount of time and effort to really study the back end of the draft, as we should. And so we've spent a lot of time trying to identify players at all positions across there. But at the end of the day, we'll still, like we've always had, we've added players every year, over the summer, and we'll keep doing that.
Kind of conventional wisdom is this might not be as top heavy is not the right word, but have the same number of elite players, prospects as in years past. Do you agree with that? Has that kind of shaped your opinion as to why you've traded out a lot of the picks from this year's draft?
It's always difficult because everything's a projection. So people always say that. Then you look back at some drafts and you're like, wow, look, look at those. 12 of those first round picks are guys are maybe Pro Bowlers every year and Hall of Fame guys in the future. So every draft has their strengths and weaknesses by position. So I think for us trading those picks really had nothing to do with how the draft looked. It was the opportunity to acquire Tyreek Hill, just a special talent for what we were looking for. So at the end of the day, every draft will be judged 3 years from now, how it looks. And every year we go through is where some people think it's not strong or weak. And I think you really got to give these kids 3 years to really develop and see where everything stands.
Chris, was it assess the strength and the weaknesses are in this draft?
Yeah, I would say the offensive line group. It's a pretty good offensive line group. I think there's some talent all the way through from the tackles, the guards, centers, all the way into the mid rounds. I think you can find some good quality players. Like everything, everyone's always looking for the pass rushers. And I think there are some high level rushers in this draft, and then. At the end of the day, then there'll be some projection, guys that have some upside to work with. So I would say the big offensive line, to me, I think, is the one real strong position in this draft.
Chris, was it a concerted effort on your end to hang on to those first rounders next year when you were putting together the Tyreek trade?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was important for us to keep those two picks because we had done so much to acquire those before. So I think, for us, when you make a move for Tyreek like that, you also want to be prepared to have picks for the future. And having those two picks and then picking up the pick for Devontae, another third, gives us, 5 picks in the first 3 rounds with 2 1s and 2 3s. So we feel good about that heading into next year, into 2023.
What you guys were able to accomplish in free agency and what you think it looks like in the draft, do you think you've given Tua the pieces around him to succeed maybe in a way that wasn't the case the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think a lot of that too is it has to do with Coach McDaniel and his coaching staff. Kind of the offense that Mike does and what he's building here, and what his philosophy's been. I think yes, we've added some pieces on offense as well, but a lot of it fits what Mike's looking for too, and I think. A lot of it does fit what Tua does well, and I think we're all very excited. And I know Mike has been raving about Tua here over him and Coach Bevel, their time working with him and spending time with him in the meeting rooms and watching him on the field here yesterday. We're very excited for him and looking forward to this season, how he keeps progressing.
Chris, obviously anything can come up at any point, but as we sit and stand here now, does it feel unlikely that the Dolphins would be looking to aggressively move back into the first round of this year's draft?
Yeah, like I said, we'll always listen. If there's an opportunity, if there's a guy that we think is a special talent that is falling or something, that we'll look into it. But I wouldn't say never. But we'll we'll always keep looking and investigating everything.
Chris, you mentioned Devontae a little while ago. How much hesitation was there into trading him to a team within the division? And also the idea of picking up the pick next year as opposed to this year, was that preference or the way it felt?
Yeah, I think more, you've seen over the last couple of years more teams doing interdivisional trades, which before when I first started and here, you would never do that, I think the last time we did it was with our current receiver coach, which didn't turn out well for us then. But I think when you have an opportunity to do right by the player and the organization, both sides feel good about it. Like I said, this was never anything where we planned to trade Devontae. Once we made the trade for Tyreek, we received multiple phone calls, and I think most teams assumed that we had signed Cedric Wilson, traded for Tyreek, that and had obviously with Waddle here that Devontae was the guy that would be available. So multiple teams called. The Patriots were the most aggressive. And at the end of the day, worked with the agent, talked to Devontae, wanted to do right by him too as well. But getting that third round pick was very important for us, and we are fine if it was this year or next year. So.
Chris, you talked about the excitement of this process. As a GM, is there anything maybe that stands out to you or something that's like a favorite for you in this process, or is it all business?
It's just all business. It's like everything. It's, when I have a teenage son that, follows, he's on Twitter and everything, and I'm not on it. He's like, before we made the two moves, he's like, man, everyone hates you in South Florida. They're like, you're not doing anything. And then, we get Armstead and make the trade. He's like, man, everyone loves you now. And I'm like, and I said, hey, it's the nature of the beast. And as you guys know, I said, I appreciate the job you guys do, and I don't take anything personal, and I don't read stuff purposely because I enjoy, the communication we all have, and I don't want to walk in here and be mad at you guys and like I'm not answering that guy's question so for me it's just business as usual, and I'll be excited if we ever win a Super Bowl here. That'll be my excitement.
When you set up a roster the way you have this offseason, you go into a draft, are you more inclined to just go for needs with you can gamble more? I mean, even though you have less picks, you can gamble more with the picks?
No, I think when you have those few picks as we do, I think you got to be right on them. And so I think you got to be very deliberate and measured of what the roster and what that guy's role on the roster is going to be and how he fits. So obviously there'll be an occasion where if that special guy is there to take that risk on something, you will. But I think when you're picking third, fourth round, and then 2 in the 7th, you got to kind of make sure what you're getting and who it is and how he's going to fit on the team.
We talked about Tua earlier. The team, there was a shift from previously shopping around for a top quarterback to now putting a firm commitment into Tua. What led to that shift?
No, I think as we finished the season here and going, as we were moving here and we were moving on to the coaching search, I think at the end of the day, we just decided, and as we were talking to each candidates, they were just talking about how much they had studied Tua and what they liked about him, and all of them felt excited and wanted to work with him, felt that they could win with him. So I think as you go through those process and those interviews, you kind of know if someone is kind of just saying what you want to hear just because they want a head coaching job, or the level of detail when they talk about things and their history and the research they've done showed that they were truly really believed in them, as we do. And so it was an exciting time. And then, once we hired Mike, it was just full steam ahead.
Chris, I don't know if you saw, but after the Super Bowl, Rams GM Les Snead had the Tim Pick shirt after that, and there's been some memes with you having that as well. I'm curious what your thoughts about that, and maybe the trend of trading picks all in for a player.
Well, I said my kids have told me there's been a lot of memes on me, both good and bad. So, I think Les, deserves credit for how they've done it. They won a Super Bowl, known Les for a long time, and he has a very unique way of looking at things, and it's paid off. So I still believe in building through the draft. I think the draft's an important part of building your team and having young assets to work through, but we've shown that we'll always be aggressive, if it comes to acquiring a good player, or at least attempting to, and we've done that. So I would say that, for us, the ability to get good players and where we were as young as we are on this roster right now, and knowing that we had the 2 first-round picks in 2023, enabled us to, be aggressive and make a move like that. And we had talked to a number of teams about a number of players, so we were being very aggressive, across the league trying to find players. And Tyreek was not one that ever thought would happen, and a lot of credit to Brett Veach and Coach Reed. Working with them was great, and I'm sure they were frustrated with us at times as we were frustrated with them, but it ended up working out well.